Shooting driving scenes is always a challenge. You know, there's safety factors and logistics, and you're trying to move around, and you have actors trying to pretend to drive and do lines at the same time and all this. And now on top of that, we're adding in that we're working with an actor with Down syndrome. And so that, you know, just makes it even more complex. And I kept trying to think of how are we going to capture the driving scenes. And of course, a real common way is you put the vehicle up on a trailer and you tow it around and you mount cameras, and there we go. Another way you can do it is with blue screen, and you composite the footage in. I wasn't thrilled with going that route at the time, but I did happen to think, you know, they make huge LED TVs now. So I wonder if we could take a big 70-inch TV and put it outside the side window, projecting whatever footage we want, and then shoot it. So I did a quick test of that, and it looked pretty good. You know, and that was with me just throwing it together. And I thought, well, I know if we've got the time to light it properly, we could make it pretty realistic. But then that got me to thinking about how much more creative we could get. I happened upon this location and discovered, oh my gosh, we can shoot this, you know, in a studio type setting and still have room to build a motel room, which means now I can completely control the art direction, color palette. We have a lot more freedom with camera movement, and it suddenly opened the floodgates for me creatively to literally being able to sort of paint the movie exactly the way I wanted.
So we took the point when Michael finds the keys and takes the car and turned that into a stylistic turning point. So for instance, in art direction, we made everything up till that point really lean towards earth tones and browns, but especially reds and yellows. Michael's brother's name is Red. He wears red overalls. You know, he kind of represents stop. And Michael wears a yellow shirt because he's cautious. We did everything we could to avoid any green in the frame up till that point. And then in post-production, we took that even further. You know, when the film first starts out, we let it have kind of a natural look. Then as the film progresses and their journey progresses, we skewed the film towards those red and yellow hues, almost to the point of monochromatic. And the first time you see any green in the frame, up till that point, is the police officer's patch on her arm. And that was actually blue, but we turned it green in post-production. And that's the first time you see any green. And of course, her name is, she's Officer Zelena, the Croatian word for green. So she represents, you know, in this film, our first experience with someone who's telling Michael he can go. Then, for instance, once they're in the motel room, we have, you know, your typical Southwest desert art on the walls. And the one over Red's bed leans far more red, and the one over Michael's bed leans far more yellow. And then the next morning, Michael sees the keys, and then the next shots of Michael, he's got a green toothbrush and a green bow tie on, and, you know, he's off on his adventure.